A night shift at a diner changed Maddie's life forever. A robber burst into the cafe with a shotgun, and the blast left her deaf, putting an end to her dream of becoming a cellist. But that wasn't all. During the robbery, Maddie's boyfriend Chad was killed. A year later, Maddie's best friend Trish decides to take her to Thailand, where they meet a local guy named Josh. He shows them a secluded spot out at sea, a natural enclosure formed by reefs. But they don't know that inside its perimeter lives a killer whale that was relocated there from a nearby oceanarium after killing several employees. Arguably, the main task of a high-concept thriller screenwriter is to devise a clever setup that isolates the protagonist from the outside world in a dangerous situation. Who or what the characters are up against, and what specific obstacles block their path to freedom, is almost secondary. It can be home invaders, as in Panic Room, a shark, as in The Shallows, the cold, as in Frozen, or sheer height, as in Fall. What matters most is that the situation itself feels plausible, realistic, and razor-sharp. The creators of Killer Whale tried to borrow a bit from all of these, though their primary inspiration is clearly the aforementioned The Shallows. The heroines are far from shore, almost in open water, inside a relatively small reef enclosure stranded on a lonely rock with a killer whale circling them. In an attempt to further load the whale with murderous motivation, the filmmakers also give it the backstory of having lost a calf. But this feels more like overinsurance and has no real effect on the situation. On the surface, it seems like the filmmakers did everything right, especially considering that their main characters are two young, attractive women who spend the entire movie in bikinis. But the devil creeps in through the details, which start to bother you from the very first encounter between the girls in danger. First, the killer whale effortlessly sinks the jet ski they arrived on with a flick of its tail. Then, suddenly, it turns out that the inflatable raft Maddie and Trish climb onto is somehow beyond its abilities. The whale circles them, tugs at the rope tied to the raft, surfaces and glares menacingly at the girls, but for some reason stubbornly refuses to tear the raft apart like a hot water bottle. From that moment on, trust in Killer Whale begins to melt away. Unfortunately, it only gets worse from there. This is a thriller where things happen, not because they make sense, but precisely when and how it's convenient for the screenwriters. Every plot move feels contrived and artificial. The girls are afraid to dip a foot in the water one moment, then swim around freely for minutes the next without a care in the world. This approach is a serious problem because survival thrillers are especially vulnerable to falseness. Their main asset isn't plot or character, but the feeling of real danger. When the threat exists only on the level of declarations and flashy set pieces, without being supported by the internal logic of what's happening, the audience stops being scared and mentally checks out from the situation, the characters, and the story as a whole. Another major issue with the film is how it looks. Unlike The Shallows, which was shot in a real coastal location, Killer Whale is grounded in reality only in its opening scenes. As soon as the characters reach the reef enclosure, they end up inside a green screen covered soundstage, where about 90% of the image, from the whale itself to the water and the sky, is computer generated. This is hard on the eyes and makes it difficult to get immersed in a film that already struggles with its storytelling. In the end, the best thing Killer Whale has going for it is its two actresses, Virginia Gardner as Maddie and Mel Jarnson as Trish. They don't exactly set the screen on fire, but both are likable and essentially the only truly living things in the film, both figuratively and literally.